Today, we'll talk about loops. One of the most important purposes of program is let machine do boring routine works for human beings. Loop is tool to repeat our program conditionally. In C language, we have three kinds of loops: for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Today, I'll introduce while loop and for loop. While loop. Syntax of while loop is composed by keyword while, a constraint with parentheses, and statement contents by pair of brackets. Literally, the only difference between while loop and if statement is the keyword. Their actions are familiar too. If statement means if the constraint be true, then do the statement once. And while loop means repeat statements when the constraint is true. In other words, until the constraint be false. We can see the program. I initialize I by 0 and set up I less than 3 as the constraint of the while loop. As we know, the contents of while loop will be repeated until we read an integer I larger than or equal to 3. And now let us try out the program. As you see, no matter how many times I input the integer, the program still not stop until I input a number 3. Since 3 is smaller than 3 be printed, we know that how the works will be done even if the constraint is not satisfied in the progress. For loop. Same as while loop. For loop also composed by a keyword, a pair of parentheses, and a pair of brackets. But content of the parentheses of for loop is separated to 3 parts by semicolons. The left part, while we write assign 1 to I, is initialization part. We'll run once before the loop. The second part, while we write I smaller than 5, is the condition part, same as constraint of while loop. The last part is the iteration part. We'll run once after each time statements in the brackets are finished. Like this program you see, we can write more than one statement in initialization part and iteration part. We can concatenate multiple statements with comma. And now, try out our program. You can understand how the for loop works by the output. CONT lines are printed by content of brackets, and ITR lines are printed by the iteration part. We can find that each time the content be ran, then the iteration part will be ran.